The Mercedes-Benz A45 AMG is one of the most underrated performance cars of the modern era. W176 Generation dropped in most markets around 2013, and I remember I was still in engineering school and I was blown away at the power this thing was making out of just 4 cylinders and a turbo. And you didn't have to be an engineer to really be astonished. Everyone, journalists and the public, couldn't believe it, couldn't believe the amount of power Mercedes-Benz pulled out of a 4-cylinder engine, the M133. And everyone thought, guys, for a long time, for many years, everyone thought this engine was going to go boom. And what happened? Well, the car pretty much proved everyone wrong. Apart from a couple of issues, turbo oil feed lines, and in fact the turbo, and a few valve issues, this engine and this car was very robust. In fact, the main weakness with the car wasn't the engine, it was the 7-speed dual clutch transmission, which was made out of chocolate. And many owners within warranty faced transmission issues and they required replacements. And many owners above 100,000 kilometers have dealt with and are still dealing with transmission issues. And this is why, guys, in the used car market, the W176 A45 AMG, both the initial versions, the 2013-14 versions, and the facelift that came in around 2015, both of those versions, even though the facelift made some revisions to the engine, the transmission, both of those versions, guys, have very low resale value in the used car market. And really, it's that public's distrust in that transmission that drives these prices really low, because the engine is quite proven. And if you run into transmission issues with Benz outside of warranty, it's very costly. That's what's happening in the used car market, right? But everything really changed with the W177 generation. Now, the A45 AMG with this generation dropped in most markets around 2014. And this is where Benz changed the game, guys. You went to the M139 engine, which was very heavily based on the M133, but the M139, it's a wildly revised engine. Not that the original engine had many issues, but here you've got very different engine. It's making a bunch more power, as it's been the case. Every facelift and every generation with the A45, it just seems to add more and more power and torque out of that 4-cylinder. The turbo's in the back now with many European cars. It's a really good engine, guys, and Benz loves this engine. They put it not just in the A45, but in many of their higher models, and they offer it to Lotus as well, who use it for their Mira. So this, I think in this version, the W177, this is where the A45 really became king, and Benz went with the 8-speed dual clutch transmission, really solid transmission. Now, you don't hear many negatives about it. Good all-wheel drive system with the trick diff as well at the back. This is where the car came into its own. But it's sad, guys, because it is highly underrated, as I said in the beginning of the video, and it's underrated for a few reasons, right? One of the reasons is 4 cylinders, right? The market overall, guys, does not enjoy 4 cylinders, right? It's really good for economy cars, but we've seen that car enthusiasts just cannot get behind 4 cylinders. I'm in my Toyota GR Yaris, and the 3-cylinder still is considered special, right? The market loves 3 and 5 cylinders, these odd cylinders. But with 4 bangers, they're still thought of economy cars. Really, the only parties that get away with 4 cylinders is Volkswagen with its E8888, and that engine's great, and Honda Civic Type R, right? The FL5 and the FK8 use the K20C1 4-cylinder engine, and those manufacturers really are some of the few that get away with it. Benz doesn't really get away with a 4-cylinder. That's issue number 1, which keeps this car underrated. Issue number 2 is the fact that this car wears an AMG badge, and the issue here is, guys, in AMG enthusiasts' eyes, an AMG should only be a V8. I mean, AMG people don't even like 6 cylinders, right? They want V8s. That's sort of been the tradition with the C63 and the E-Class AMGs and the S63, the S65. I mean, these cars have had big engines and the crowd just cannot get behind a 4-cylinder. It's really sad, guys, because if you compare it to a big rival like the Audi RS3, which has the 5-cylinder engine, which is a legendary motor. A lot of people call it a baby Lambo engine, right? If you compare it with that, this engine is more peppy. It feels nicer to drive. It feels like a real enthusiast motor, but because of the cylinder count, because of an AMG wearing a 4-cylinder, engine, it gets downranked, guys. And often it's sad in the market, people will prefer the Golf R, which is a level below the A45 AMG. People will prefer that. They'll prefer the RS3. They'll prefer many other cars before this, but the AMG A45, it's its latest generation. In that generation, it does 0 to 100 in like 3.6 seconds. I mean, this is a supercar killer. This is killing all the competition out there. The interior is great. The car is great. It's a Benz product. It's a full AMG hand-built product with the engine being hand-built and signed off, and it's really underrated. I would say to those of you who are interested in cars of this nature and the cars like the Audi RS3 and so forth, really give the A45 AMG a test drive, really from 2020 onwards. You'll often get examples that have certified pre-owned warranty, and that's, I don't recommend this car, any German performance car, outside of warranty. So, I'm not saying that go and buy this car outside of warranty, but really give this car a shot, drive it, because it is one of the few gems of AMG. This is one of the good, solid cars. M139, reliable, dare I say, exotic type engine. As far as a 4-cylinder, this is kind of as good as it gets. Give it a shot, guys. It's a car that I've been considering as well. It's kind of like the GR Yaris and the GR Corollas of the world, where these cars are special, but they sort of get looked over because they're a bit quirky, because they don't quite fit in. So let me know what you guys think. I'll catch you next time.